Ibrahim's journey began with hope. Born into a humble Hausa family in northern Nigeria, he was a boy of promise, a dreamer with ambitions far greater than the village could offer. His parents, though uneducated, believed in the power of knowledge and saw education as their son's gateway to a better life. To fund his schooling, Ibrahim's father sold the family's only farmland, a sacrifice that left them struggling but proud. One day, Ibrahim will bring honor to this family, his mother often said, her voice filled with optimism. Ibrahim carried this hope with him as he left for university, determined to justify his parents' sacrifices. Life at the university was not easy. Ibrahim faced financial struggles, often going days with little food. But his resolve was unshakable. Against all odds, he graduated with honors, a degree in his hand and the promise of a brighter future ahead. Reality sets in. Returning to his village, Ibrahim was met with celebration. Friends and family praised him as a symbol of success, and many young boys were inspired to follow in his footsteps. But the glow of his achievement faded quickly as reality set in. Jobs were scarce, especially for someone from a remote village. Ibrahim traveled to nearby towns and cities, submitting applications and attending interviews. Months turned into years, yet every effort ended in rejection. Employers wanted experience, and Ibrahim had none. The burden of his parents' sacrifice weighed heavily on him. The once proud faces of his mother and father now bore the lines of worry and disappointment. The land they sold had sustained the family for years, and without it, they struggled to make ends meet. During this time, Ibrahim married Amina, a strikingly beautiful and ambitious young woman from the neighboring village. She had dreams of her own, a comfortable life filled with prosperity and ease. When she married Ibrahim, she believed he would soon secure a lucrative job and fulfill those dreams. At first, Amina was patient. She understood the challenges her husband faced and supported him as best she could. But as the years passed with no sign of improvement, her patience wore thin. "Ibrahim," she began one evening, her tone sharp, "how long will we continue like this? You're educated, yet we live like paupers. My friends laugh at me because I married a man who cannot provide for his family." Her words cut Ibrahim deeply. He tried to explain the challenges he faced, but Amina would not listen. She wanted results, not excuses. The weight of expectations. Ibrahim's love for Amina was profound, and he wanted nothing more than to make her happy. Her constant demands pushed him to take up any work he could find, no matter how demeaning. He labored in farms, carried heavy loads for traders, and even worked as a cleaner in the town's market. But no matter how hard he worked, the money he earned was never enough. Amina's expectations grew, and her patience dwindled. She began comparing him to other men in the village who, despite their lack of education, were thriving in their trades. "Look at Bala," she would say. "He didn't go to university, yet he has built a house for his wife. And you? What do you have to show for all your education?" These comparisons tore at Ibrahim's spirit. He felt like a failure not just to Amina but to himself and his family. One fateful night, after another argument with Amina, Ibrahim sat alone outside their small, crumbling house. The stars above seemed distant and indifferent to his plight. He thought of his parents, who had given up everything for his education, and of Amina, whose love now seemed conditional. "I must do something," he whispered to himself. "Anything." The next morning, as Amina's complaints echoed in his mind, Ibrahim made a decision. He would take what he needed to provide for her, even if it meant breaking the law. At the bustling village market, traders displayed their goods: sacks of rice, baskets of tomatoes, yams, and spices. Ibrahim lingered in the shadows, his heart pounding. He had never stolen before, but desperation had clouded his judgment. Spotting a sack of rice left momentarily unattended, he seized the opportunity. He grabbed the sack and ran, weaving through the narrow alleys, his breath ragged with fear and guilt. But his escape was short-lived. The trader noticed the missing sack and raised the alarm. "Thief! Thief!" he shouted, and the market erupted in chaos. The villagers, angered by the betrayal of trust, chased after Ibrahim. They cornered him in an alley, dragging him back to the market square. The crowd's anger was unrelenting. Ibrahim pleaded for mercy, tears streaming down his face. "I did it for my wife," he cried. "I was desperate. Please, forgive me." But his words fell on deaf ears. In the eyes of the villagers, he had violated the community's trust and disrespected their way of life. Without a formal trial, the mob took justice into their own hands. Ibrahim's cries of pain echoed through the square as the sun set, casting long shadows over the scene. By nightfall, Ibrahim's life had ended in tragedy. News of Ibrahim's death spread quickly. When Amina heard, she dropped the clay pot she was holding, its contents spilling onto the ground. She ran to the market square, only to find his lifeless body lying in the dirt. Grief consumed her. The man she had loved, the man who had sacrificed everything to make her happy, was gone. And it was her relentless pressure that had driven him to his fate. Amina became a widow at a young age, but her beauty and ambition no longer mattered. The villagers shunned her, blaming her for Ibrahim's downfall. She lived in isolation, haunted by the memory of her husband's sacrifice and her own role in his demise. Years passed, and Amina struggled to survive. She worked tirelessly, doing menial jobs to make ends meet. Every night, she sat alone, her mind replaying the events that led to Ibrahim's death. She often visited his grave, placing flowers and whispering apologies. "If only I had been more patient," she would say. "If only I had loved you for who you were, not for what you could give me." Amina's life became a cautionary tale, a reminder of how pressure and unrealistic expectations can destroy even the strongest of spirits. In the end, she learned the value of contentment, but it was a lesson that came too late. The story of Ibrahim and Amina was told for generations in the village, a tragic example of how dreams can be crushed under the weight of desperation and misplaced priorities. Here are 3 moral lessons from the story. 1. Honesty and integrity lead to trust. Engaging in dishonesty, such as stealing, can lead to severe consequences, including loss of dignity and respect. Upholding integrity, even in difficult times, builds a trustworthy reputation. 2. Contentment and gratitude are essential. Comparing one's life to others and coveting their success can lead to frustration and poor decisions. Finding contentment and gratitude in what one has can foster peace and better decision-making. 3. Hard work and perseverance pay off. Life's challenges often test one's resilience. Hard work, perseverance, and seeking honest means to improve one's situation are more rewarding and sustainable than shortcuts.